Well, thank you all. A pleasure to meet you all. Before anything, I would love to give a compliment to all our company, the marketing team, for the great job, for allowing us to have this great experience, to share our knowledge. So, guys, if you don't mind, a big applause for everybody who make this possible. All right, apologize, but the tech guy is here. I will try to explain everything as much usual as possible, as much human as possible, but I'm tech guy, so apologize in front. Well, what's coming? That's a good question. To give you a bit more about myself, background, and also to understand a bit more my approach, I come from the big companies, the big industries where all the procedures, all the ISOs, scalability, security, privacy was extremely important and a key. So at some point, I found Hugo. I hear about that really interesting project. So I try to put these approaches and this knowledge into a lower and a smaller base scale. But with always this professionality and looking forward for the future and knowing the responsibility we have. We don't have only a product for ourselves. We have a product for all you. Every second counts, every millisecond counts. We cannot have downtimes, we cannot have. So we are extremely strict with this. And these are the approach that we are bringing. It's not just about the app performance. It's not just about the revenue. It's the technology. Nowadays, we are really lucky. We have many new things popping up. I hear about many concerns here that happy to hear that you think about that. We hear about UX. At the beginning of the day, we hear also about the speed of the components, caching images. We hear about AI. We hear many topics that are not just for our industry, are worldwide, all based on the internet and the computer. So what we are going to present is what is coming. I want to split it into complexity, opportunity, a bit overview of the market. Then we move into the AI-driven optimization, large-scale A/B testing, what I call multivariate testing, a bit boring in terms of math, but interesting in terms of results. The evolving tag related with the size, and then we go to benefits and commitments. So, first of all, you already know, and it's something that I have been hearing during all the morning. I think here Carlos made a good point. There are many facts that can impact, like the ad size, like the position, like time, like so. There are many static configurations nowadays, and actually this is that. Oops, okay. This is the challenge. When I hear you talking about that, it's like, okay, all these facts are important. Everything makes the difference. Me, as a technical guy, I'm completely obsessed with optimization. So I put myself in your skin and said, okay, then I need to optimize all these params. But is the same for every single country? Is the same for every single device? Is the same for every single browser? Is the same for every single hour of the day? Every single internet speed? Every single connection? So my mind is like, boom, no. I cannot deal with that. I need to have everything under control. I'm a tech guy. So for these static configurations, it's a difficult situation that we can solve nowadays with the technology we have. Multiple optimization variables. Again, I think Carlos pointed really well. There are many parameters. There are many things we can change to optimize our revenue, to optimize our user experience, to optimize the performance. But how can we know it once it's wrong? That's the problem. So this is a huge risk always to be testing, to be with the different tests, but you need to go wrong to go well. So this is a huge challenge for the industry. Then, latency challenges is something that we realize nowadays. When I started coding, I will maybe sound as a dinosaur, but I started with Pascal, COBOL, all those languages that were really long to develop, but they were pretty stable and compact. Nowadays, what happened? We have new developments that goes much faster based on libraries and components that are already built. What's the benefit of this? You reduce the cost 1,000 less. There are already proved by the community, but you have a lot of things that you don't strictly need or strictly use. That at the end is weight, at the end is milliseconds, and as I always say, every millisecond counts, and every second lost is an unmonetized impression, and also impacts on a bad experience on the user, especially nowadays that the patience is not the best skill that we have actually, obviously. Then, user experience erosion. We are seeing it every day more and more. I saw it the other day. I have many examples to give you. The other day, for example, with Hugo, a stupid thing like, hey, we are going to ask a Uber. Okay, you ask for a Uber, 4 minutes. Ooh, too much. And you close it. And then you start thinking, hey, 10 years ago, what happened with the taxis? With the cabs? You spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes, nobody cares. you feel it as part of the process, but the actual technology, the actual environment made us go with this kind of speed and expectations because we are living in an era with instant results. So all the user behaviors and everything is what we are facing on the market, not just in our advertising market. Every single of you, I think, in terms of news, in terms of every single website, is the day by day. And probably what you hear about your tech teammates, and I will try to explain it with human words. So what is our approach? How do we want to try to make your life easier or improve results or be much more efficient? Optimization is the key, as I always say. So instead of relying on intuition, is something that I hear a lot also. I think is one of the problems that we have in the industry is the assumptions. We have many assumptions, and as part of our core values, and as Hugo pointed, if you cannot see it with your eyes, it's not there. So this is what we tried. Okay, don't trust on this assumption. Don't trust on the rules. Let's test it. Let's see it with our own eyes. Let's see data to confirm our decisions, as we spoke also during these days. So, what can we do? For us as a humans is, at least for me, guys, maybe there is smarter people than me for sure here, but for me it's completely impossible to see all these variables as mentioned based on different countries, devices. So let's use the technology for this. We have really nice technology nowadays. We have the AI has been a huge topic here. I like the AI, but I think the AI is the cherry on the cake at the end. The AI, it's possible just because of the data. Nowadays, we live on the data era. It's not just about all the data that we can consume and we can accumulate. It's how fast can we process it and serve it. And also, now, obviously, it's much cheaper than 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it wasn't a project rated with this, it was millions. Nowadays, with hundreds, you can do it. So, what do we try to do with the AI-driven optimization? Some examples that we are now experimenting is dynamically select the most effective bidders based on country, region, device, time of the day, even network operator. Sometimes it's crazy how everything can change. Adjust the timeouts. We also know it. It depends on the network. It depends on many times. We can reorder bidding logic. We can remove unperforming bidders on even some components of the technology that are not needed or used or something like that. Increase win rate and reduce latency and test different layout configurations. I think this is one of the, especially for all you guys that work on websites and apps and so, it's really difficult to test. We hear a lot about the A/B testing. That is something that for me is also a bit outdated and I want to talk about. What is the A/B testing? Okay, so basically I give you option A, option B. Things are white, things are black. And 99% of the times we know that that's not going to happen. It's not representative. So, here comes the maths. Okay, I'm going to try to make it as much simple as possible to don't bore you too much. So, what do we propose? Don't run just an A/B testing. Run a multivariate. Why? Because for us, there are many depending variables. The ad unit position goes with the size, but goes also with the latency. So I cannot just test one of these parameters A, B, because there are many other factors and many other vectors related that can influence the results. So, what can we do nowadays thanks to the technology? The multivariate testing is do exponential tests, splitting different control groups, moving based on the results and on what we expect. So we are moving all these groups to get the results we want, or at least get the approach that we are looking for, okay? I think this is something that is, speaking from deep of my heart, is being extremely challenging. Thanks God we have really nice people on the team to help us. I get lost on here on the statistics. I'm not going to lie. I'm a tech guy. I'm not a mathematician. But I think it's can make a huge impact for all of us, and especially with the huge network we have thanks to you guys, we can check, test, and compare many things, and all the expertise that we can get from every single of you can benefit all the other publishers. So as much we grow, as much visit we have, much we can learn about the market. Okay. Then the key, like us as a humans, and when we talk about this, I'm a bit philosophical, but I love to talk about the AI as humanizing the technology. What is humanizing the technology? I know sounds stupid, but I think all of you experienced it during the years. Yesterday I have many conversations with you. This constantly evolves. If we are here, it's because you all guys learn how to evolve, how to learn, how to change. The things that were okay 2 years ago or 10 years ago, as we talked yesterday, today are completely useless. But this help us to keep growing, to keep improving. So it's like the survival on the industry. You need to keep learning and adapting to the new times. Nowadays, we can do it with the technology. We can use the technology to support us on that, to make us take decisions driven with the data. That sometimes will be wrong, sometimes will be right, but many times we have much more tools. The lag factor is much more reduced. This is what we are working. We used to test variants per day, per second. We can move into millions if we want. Obviously, we're not going to do it because you need a nice test control, but since the more we grow, more tests we can run. Another thing extremely important that we talk, and I think it was mentioned in almost every single speech that we had, the speed. The speed. It's every millisecond counts, every kilobyte counts, every user experience is really important. We are talking about that. We always talk about this balance between the revenue and the user, but without the user, none of us will be here. We need to think on the user. We need to think on the experience. We are also users. We perfectly know what they want. What they want, things fast. So how can we do it? What are we doing with our technology? We move from a monolithic tag to a modular tag. What does it mean? Okay. Maybe I'm me as a Spanish publisher. I need a CMP. I need X modules on Previt to connect to different providers. I can need many applications that, for example, my colleague from Africa doesn't need. So they don't need CMP. They don't need many things. So why I'm going to spend a bandwidth? Why I'm going to spend time on loading that? So what we are doing is generate instead of that monolithic tag, a modular tag that loads only what is needed. Okay, but we can go a bit further. If I'm a mobile device, why do I need any kind of library related with desktop, for example? And also the opposite, and also with the languages. So this is my obsession with everything. It's not just professionally, it's also live, is optimization. So we are putting a lot of effort here. We are seeing results nowadays, but we have now everything set, refactored, and ready to take this to the next level and go to the byte, as we can say. Okay. So, what do we get with this? What do we get with all these changes more related to the data, more related to the user using our actual technology? More consistent and higher revenue. I think there is one word in our, at least I come from another sectors, the word that I hear more during this year is the seasonality. Right? I think all of us deal with that, the famous seasonality, when we have many times no answer and it matches the month, is like seasonality. Yep, but maybe we can count on that, maybe we can measure that, maybe we can prevent on that based on the storage and on the data. We can play with that, we can move some inventory, as I said, there was a good question, programmatic, direct, maybe we can know that certain stages of the year, we can move a percentage to one side to the other to compensate a bit more. We can take a lot of decisions based on data that are pretty interesting. Faster load times and better user experience. The user experience for all those that have some gray hair already and we have been on the market or on the industry sometimes, user experience is something that appeared relatively new 10 years ago. And I always put the same example. When Spotify appeared, I think probably all of you have a Spotify or know somebody who has a Spotify. Apple Music was already there, and there were more competitors on the game. What was the difference with Spotify, and what was the vision that this company had? A product that everybody can use. Not everybody that has a phone, not everybody that has a computer, no, everybody. So if I give the phone to my grandma, she has to be able to achieve what she wants. That was revolutionary. Why? Because many of the things and many of the huge success that we are seeing today, for example, for me, like social media, TikTok, all those are based on the user experience. Just that. I just need to install it, plug and play, and start scrolling. I don't need to go to different setups, large configurations as we used to do. If you remember, Windows 95, 98 was a pain. Now everything changed. We need to change also our mindset. Stronger compliance and data protection. We know it. Market is changing, regulation is changing, laws are changing. We saw it, for example, in the course a couple of weeks ago in Belgium with the AIB and the TCF about the CMPs. So there are constant changes here. Constant changes, we saw it also, now that Google is not hearing, I think we saw it also in Chrome and with the Google policies. There are many factors that we cannot prevent and nobody is going to tell us. So let the technology adapt to all those changes because we cannot be on top of everything. And the future-proof infrastructure. This is why I also wanted to give you a bit more about my background. This is not about working on something that is going to work today. It's something that we can build for the following 10, 20, 30 years. Because we can grow with the modular structure, with a good base core, with a lot of technical stuff that I don't want to bore you, but if you're interested, happy to tell you, since I'm a nerd. We work for you to have a better, solid, reliable product. So, in conclusion, it's taking the opportunity of using the bad experience or all the problems that advertising can bring, turn it back into a good experience with profitable results and everything using the technology with us. I know that this is extremely expensive for a company. Let's be honest. This is a lot of investment in terms of engineers, data engineers. All of you already know it, guys, and there are not cheap profiles. But we can build it for you guys. This is why we are here. We can use all our knowledge, our synergies, and all the experience to build this kind of product. And this is what we are doing, and we are really proud of that. Our commitment, okay, important. Technology is under active development. You know how we are. I always tell the same. Measure twice, cut once. This is something that my grandpa told me all my life. If it doesn't work, if I don't see it, if it's not tested, if we are not 100% sure, we are not going to release it. We are doing tests. We have many, many good cases, but until we don't know that can be put in all the network, we are not going to move it. As mentioned, will be released only when the value is assured. We take care and we for publishers by publishers, and again and again and again. I feel you in this sense. And resistance and adaptability. The market changes, regulation changes, provider changes. So we need to adapt on that. We are going to be keeping on top of this. And this is what we offer besides many other developments. Happy to hear you guys. Really proud to see that our concerns are the same. We are working on that, okay? I cannot promise the better results. As Hugo said, we are not going. What I can promise is from Refinery89, especially tech team and all the teams, we will keep working extremely hard. We will love to listen to you, to build this product together, and thank you all, guys. Success then.
Success, yeah, I know. Let's start off. Any questions from the audience? No. Tough crowd. So, Carlos, maybe you could give us a little bit more insights into the actual tech team that's behind this, because this sounds like a huge infrastructure, and enlighten us.
Yeah. Well, when we started, we were 2 developers. That was 4 years ago. Nowadays, we are almost 18. We have different specialists. At the end, the key of growing and the key is to have people better than you. Obviously, we cannot know everything. Same that we have a product guy, we have backend engineers, front-end engineers, we have UX, that it has been a revolution, QA, data engineers, we have data scientists, ad tech. So we have different specialties to work all of us together. Scrum Master for the Agile, project management, DevOps. So it's a complex infrastructure, and yeah, it's obviously for a single company is expensive and difficult to maintain, but for us that we work all together is much more effective, obviously.
Nice. And well, since you're technical, I'm really curious to hear just a little bit. I'm really curious to hear your opinion as to why is the refinery technology, truly different from others.
It's a good question, but here, to be honest, the biggest difference, I don't see it on the technology, I see it on the values as a company. As thinking on the publisher, thinking on the user, understanding what are the needs is, our business model, but it's not just about revenue, it's about the user experience, it's about, we know how we arrive here, we respect the process, we respect the way. I think is what makes us different. Also, the great work that our teammates like Jaime, Paula, Nestor are always there in the phone, are filling your websites if they're their sons or their brothers, or I think is what makes the difference. And in terms of tech, I think scalability, security, privacy, and all the good practices that we bring from the big industries.
Nice. And of course, speaking of good practices, well, you spoke about adapting the ad setup for every device and environment. So how do we actually ensure as an organization that this level of personalization doesn't compromise any of the privacy or data protection standards that might be there?
There are some rules, especially all those that know me from Refinery from some years ago, that are extremely strict. For me, data privacy, security, compliance, it's a must. If I actually will knew that I can do a 100% more breaking one of those rules, I will never do it. Something that also, guys, we have extremely strong ethics, and we need to be compliant. And what we want to assure is that we don't bring any problem to our clients, especially in terms of privacy, cookies, and all this legal stuff.
Which is also a requirement from all our partners, obviously. Yes.
Makes sense?
Yeah.